contractor. And Honorable Speaker, I have visited this stadium myself. We have considered the option, do we terminate? We have made a costing of termination, and it has been determined that terminating this contract and retendering it at the current market value of services and goods would cost the taxpayer an extra 235 million shillings, as based on the current market rates. We are also considering, should we terminate and hand this project to the National Youth Service so that we do an intra-government arrangement to hand it to the NYS to complete this project. Those are the options we are looking at, Honorable Speaker. But there is a firm commitment to conclude this historic stadium because it certainly has taken way too long to complete. Let me conclude. The final limb of that question is to outline measures the government shall take into account so that in future stadia are completed as scheduled and funds allocated are utilized prudently. That is what I have already said like 5 times already, that now we have a master plan and we have instituted an arrangement where a project cannot take off without matching that project with availability of funds. And we have entered a new era also. It's a new administration, a new style of doing things, a new policy frame, you can say a new sheriff in town with a new style of administration. We have also made sure that before we entrust any contractor with a project of this kind, we do proper assessment so that we determine the capacity of a contractor to deliver. Because Ruringo has suffered because of the capacity of the contractor. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Indeed, I want to confirm that the Minister did visit Ruringo on the 29th of August 2023. However, Honorable Speaker, the status of Ruringo today is such that everything except the small part of the pavilion and the borehole, everything about Ruringo will have to be redone. The artificial turf is already peeling off. It cannot be used for athletics. The glass in the football pitch is completely overgrown with the Kikuyu grass. And the fact of the matter is that that contractor that they claim, that the ministry claims has no capacity, is still their favored contractor. The contractor is still in possession of the site. So this 235 million will still have to be spent if Ruringo is to be put to the expected standard. The ministry has a peculiar costly relationship with this contractor. In fact, for all the reasons that they blame the contractor, they see the ministry for the last 1.5 years has enjoyed the same relationship that the contractor had with the previous dispensation. Sports Kenya, which was in charge of overseeing the project, is still intact. There have been no changes. How can we keep doing the same way, things the same way, and expect a different result? Honorable Speaker, on terms of prudence, the ministry went ahead and has retained the private consultant who is retained for Ruringo. When is he going to be removed? Because the Ministry of Public Works has the capacity to supervise this study. And Honorable Speaker, I want the Minister to look at the people of the Central Kenya region in the face today on TV and tell them, because Ruringo is the regional stadium, Nyeri is the regional headquarters. When is this stadium going to be completed? Alternatively, let us be told that this so-called master plan has actually decided to disenfranchise the people of the Mount Kenya, the sporting fraternity in the Mount Kenya region. Why has the stadium for the region not been given preference as the other regions have had their stadiums completed?
Minister, Nadenge is unhappy with you maintaining the private consultant and the failed contractor. The question is raising.
Honorable Speaker, I can confirm to this House that there are no favored contractors. I have no personal knowledge of this contractor. I can confirm nothing personal. In fact, when this contractor was being hired in December 2016, January 2017, Honorable Speaker, I was an honorable member of this House. I was sitting in this House at that time. I was not on the scene when this contractor was being engaged. The current Director General of Sports Kenya, the mother agency responsible, was not even hired as the Director General then. The contractor was picked by a different minister, a different Director General. There is absolutely no relationship between this particular contractor and any of us in the leadership of this ministry. And so I want to confirm to this House that there is absolutely, to borrow the flowery language of the Honorable Member for Nyeri, there is no peculiar cozy relationship between us and this particular contractor, or any relationship at all, other than the relationship of someone who owes the people of Kenya the obligation to complete this project and complete it well. Honorable Speaker, let me also look the people of Mount Kenya region and the people of Kenya straight in the eye and tell them Ruringu Stadium shall be completed. Ruringu Stadium is an important facility, and the people of Nyeri, the people of Mount Kenya region, like the people of Kenya, other parts of this country, they deserve to have this project completed. And it certainly has been a disservice. Indeed, I can dare add that we owe the people of Nyeri, the people of Mount Kenya region, the people of Kenya, who all have a right to use this facility, we owe them an apology. That this project, alongside other projects which I have mentioned, like water, like Kamarin, we owe an apology of how we did not carry out that work effectively. And I say we, because government inherits everything. Government inherits the good, government inherits the bad. So this is the bad that we inherited as an administration, but we have a responsibility to correct it. And I can confirm to the honorable member and to the people of Nyeri that we will fix this bad that we inherited. I want to make a commitment that some of the issues the honorable member has raised here have a lot of truth in them. There is an issue of incapacity in some of our institutions, and I have admitted that. I have admitted that our institution, like Sports Kenya, for instance, could do with resident architects, resident engineers, resident technical people. And that is why I will still insist that resources should be availed for institutions like Sports Kenya to build their capacity by bringing in the requisite technical competencies. It will really help to forestall challenges such as this. I also agree that it is not necessary to have consultants. It's not necessary to have consultants, and I can give my confirmation to this House, Honorable Speaker, that this is a matter we will revisit so that we have a framework that can better serve the interests of the people. But bottom line, we must complete Ruringu. And let me give a commitment to the honorable member and this House that I'm going to be hands-on personally on this one. And if you look at some of the projects that we have taken on since we came to office, a project like Moi Stadium, Embu, we did it in 5 weeks. A stadium like Kericho Green Stadium, we did it in about 3 months. A stadium like Kasarani Stadium, we are refurbishing it in 12 months. A stadium like the Talanta Stadium that will host the Africa Cup of Nations in 2027, we are doing it in a record 24 months. So you can see the difference of the Kenya Kwanza performance. Side by side, with the mess that we inherited as an administration. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Ruku. Honorable Ruku.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask a supplementary question. After listening to the Minister or Cabinet Secretary, there's some questions which have come in my mind regarding the World Rally Championship, which was in Naivasha. Can the Minister confirm all the claims, all the dues have been paid as far as one Rally Championship is concerned? Because it may risk Kenya not able to participate in such an event or even host such an event, which was very good in marketing our country as one of premium touristic destinations in the world. Can the Minister confirm all the dues have been paid? And if not, when is going to happen? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
We'll take Mheshimiwa Mandazi.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Chepalungu.
Quite well, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask the CS that there was a directive by the head of state that the stadium that was done by county government of Bomet between the year 2012 and 2017 that was abandoned, that the ministry takes up and completes it. I am aware that the CS actually made a visit to the site, and I would like to ask him on the findings and whether the same project can continue to completion and can be realized anytime soon. And if not, Mr. Speaker, I would like to hear from the CS.
You're a joyrider, one question. One question.
Okay, Speaker.
Yes. Jen Kiara.
Yeah.
Joyriders, one question. Give Honorable Kiara the mic.
Mr. Speaker, mine is not a question, it's just to appreciate. That is where I ran. That Rurengo is a stadium. I remember it.
You're out of order. This is question time. Ferdinand Wanyonyi, I come to you. You can go and appreciate the minister in his office. Ask a question.
Can the minister tell me, because we know that we are going to have the African Cup of Nations in 2027, and yet we're also having general election in this country. So do you think there's going to be a conflict in terms of arrangements? I'm a bit uneasy on the whole thing. Please, can you tell us what you're going to do? Given that two events which are very, very important for this country.
What did you say, Ferdinand? I didn't even hear you.
Said we're having the African Cup of Nations. We are hosting African Cup of Nations 2027.
Correct.
And yet we're also having the general election 2027. But do you think there's going to be a conflict? You know, just how prepared are we going? Yeah.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I appreciate
Those series of small questions and answer them.
the response by the Minister on Ruringo. And I want to ask the Minister, I am certain he has seen the recent report by the Auditor General, Nancy Kadhungu, on the inflated costs of all these stadia, including Wanguru Stadium, Kirigiti in Kiambu, and definitely this Ruringo, upon completion, is a likely candidate of that inflated or escalation of costs. I would particularly want to hear what is it that the Ministry and Sports Study are doing to ensure that there will be no inflation of costs. Because as a minister of ours, it's actually true. I was with him here in the 11th Parliament when that particular contract was awarded. And I, in fact, participated in the groundbreaking ceremony by our former President Uhuru Kenyatta in Ruringo in the run-up to the 2017 elections. But it's almost 10 years after the award of that contract. What guarantees is a minister giving that under his watch that there will be no inflation then of costs way beyond what was envisaged then and beyond what would be the normal escalation of costs of steel and cement probably because I don't think the cost of grass, the Kikuyu grass, the member for Nyeri Town is speaking about, has changed. But of course there is the normal escalation of costs on steel and cement. But will that also see us justifying, or the ministry justifying, a very huge escalation in cost? And therefore, we want to really hear what is it that the ministry is doing to ensure that one, Ruringo Stadium and all the other stadia are completed within a reasonable timeline and within reasonable costs. Because, Honorable Speaker, you know, when projects like this take 10, 15 years, then at the end of it all, we will hear the stadium was to cost maybe 600 million, is now costing 2 billion shillings. And it is that I would want to hear what the minister and the ministry are doing to ensure that we check that we do not end up with such a report. Because the Auditor General has reported on the ones that are completed or partially completed, like Kirigiti, Wanguru, and the others. Are we going to hear when the Auditor General reviews this particular one in Ruringo that it was also escalated costs twice or triple what was envisaged? Thank you.
Didaraso.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to ask the CS one very specific question on Marsabit. Marsabit was built by both the county government and the Sports Kenya. One side of the stadium is complete, the other side is still lagging behind. So who really takes responsibility if such projects are unfinished? And also, you have closed the spaces for the youngsters and for the community of Marsabit town. So how long such projects are likely to take? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Oyula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to ask the CS whether he's aware that Busia County has no stadium at all, and what arrangements has he in place?
Has no good stadium or has no stadium?
Has no stadium, not even a bad one. And what arrangement has he to ensure that we in Busia, we also get a stadium? Thank you.
Member for Kericho.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to first maybe remind the CS.
Minister, all these are deviations from the original question, but there are small questions which you can answer. Go on.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me to be what you normally call us the joy riders.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe first is to remind the minister that when he came to Kericho, he renamed the stadium as Kibrukut Chuma Stadium, so it is no longer Kericho. And you've actually mentioned that the stadium was done in 3 months. It is true, but there are some issues that have not been sorted. The gates have not been conclusively done. Beautification outside has not been done. Lanes are not well done. So what plans do you have to make sure that the stadium is done to the international standard? Thank you.
Adagala.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for putting me in line with the joyriders too. But my question should be taken with the seriousness it takes, because I want to ask the CS Sports, what measures is he going to take, or is taking, or what has he done? In Vihiga County, we have something similar to grounds, that is Hamisi Sports Ground, Kidundu, and Mungoha. And Vihiga being a home of champions of rugby and basketball players and football, what arrangements is he making to ensure those stadiums can function and work so that Vihiga can feel we are part of this Kenya Kwanza government? Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the CS. As a member of Sports Committee, we budgeted for sports academies, and I don't know where we are with that because nothing has started yet. Thank you.
Can we, okay, last member for Mhaya. Then Minister, you can answer those short questions.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to ask this, the CS that it is believed he is putting round pegs in square holes. That in 2027, when we shall be hosting the CAF, he is not preparing Buhungu Stadium, which is the home of football and footballers, but is preparing a different stadium which is known for athletics. I want him to tell these 1,000 Kenyans what he's doing to make sure that the home of football is prepared for football in 2027. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I will take one by one pretty fast, starting from the first on the WRC Safari Rally. And Honorable Speaker, it is true that the WRC Safari Rally had quite a pile-up of debts. In fact, I'm very proud to report to this House that this is one of the spaces we have been able to streamline. When this rally was hosted in 2022, for instance, before we came to office, it cost the taxpayer about 2.8 billion shillings. Last year, we were able to halve that and do it at half that budget. This year, even with the economic realities, we have been able to lower it even further. And so we have done very well to get a grip of a space which we believe was not managed very well. And I want to assure this House that there is no chance of Kenya losing the WRC Safari Rally. We are in a very good space with the promoter. We are in a very good space with the FIA, the International Motorsport Federation. And we are also in a very good space in streamlining that whole operation of the rally. The debts which we inherited, we have referred them to a special verification, and that verification process is going on. As soon as that verification is completed so that we know which ones are genuine, which ones should be paid, then they certainly will be settled. And we will plead for some more indulgence for that verification to be concluded. Bomet Stadium in Bomet County Stadium, yes, I have visited this stadium. Again, it is one of those stadia that were not very well conceived. When you look at, Honorable Speaker, if I refer the Honorable Member to page 16 of the master plan, which I have referred to quite a lot, you will see that Bomet Stadium is listed under what we are calling completion of ongoing regional stadia. And so even though this was a project of the county government, we have taken it up and it is part of the plans we have to complete it. But there are serious integrity issues there. We have done some initial tests and we believe that some of the structures that were done by the county government may actually need to be pulled down as part of the completion of this project. The other question from the Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi on AFCON and the general elections, we believe that there shouldn't really be overly much concern. Actually, we see the general elections and the football fever complementing pretty good. And Kenyans, I believe, will immensely enjoy the Africa Cup of Nations even as we gear to the general elections. We don't anticipate any problem at all, unless the honourable member knows something that we don't, and we'll be happy to listen to.
Under the fear of the unknown. Just go.
Honorable Speaker, we all occasionally suffer from the fear of the unknown. Honorable Adagala has also mentioned Hamisi, Kidundu, Mumboha, and I can also assure the honorable member for Vihiga that Kidundu Stadium is also in the master plan. If you look at page 16, you will see under support for new regional stadia, Kidundu is listed as a project. So that is already considered. But we have also been in talks with the leadership of Vihiga, including the governor, just to determine what would be the best place in Vihiga County for a regional stadia in that county. But in the meantime, Kidundu is listed in the master plan. On the question regarding Kiprugut Stadium, Kiprugut Chumo Stadium, it is true that we have formally, in an official ceremony, renamed that stadium in honor of Kenya's first ever Olympics medal winner, the late Kiprugut Arap Chumo. That is the new name. And we are aware that there are a few elements that need to be completed, something that Sports Kenya is seized of for completion. Honorable Yula mentioned the Busia County Stadium, and I'm pleased to inform the Honorable Member, Honorable Speaker, that this particular county actually has no stadium, as the Honorable Member has indicated. The remnants of the stadium that was there was a victim of the public protests, which went away with the remnants of Busia Stadium. And so Busia no longer has a stadium, but we have advertised this project, and expression of interest is ongoing for construction of a new stadium in Busia County. That process is nearing the tail end, the expression of interest. The sports academies, there's a question, a latter question here, Honorable Speaker, on which we had provided some information on academies. I can skip it for now and I'll answer it at that point, because we have provided details on the question of academies. The Honorable Dida Rasu has mentioned Marsabit, and again, Marsabit is in our master plan. And you have correctly noted, Honorable Rasu Yakwamba, that one bit of the project is completed. That is the bit that was done by the ministry through the Sports Kenya. That bit is completed, and I did visit, and I confirmed that. I physically visited Marsabit to confirm that. The bit the county government did is incomplete. And we had some serious concerns about the integrity of that structure. I'm pleased to report to this House that we have done integrity tests, and those tests are now we have a report we did commission just to determine whether that structure could withstand completion. The test results are being analyzed now. As soon as that is completed, we'll proceed to complete as indicated in the master plan. There was a question from the Honorable Member for Mhaya on Buhungu Stadium, and I couldn't agree more with the Honorable Member for Mhaya that this region, the Mlembe land, is a hotbed of talent. Buhungu itself is like a shrine of football, and certainly deserves to be given attention. And I'm pleased again to report to this Honorable House, Honorable Speaker, that I was personally at Buhungu a month ago to do groundbreaking for the completion of Buhungu Stadium. We have entered into partnership with the county government to help the county government as national government to complete the bit that is remaining. So work is going on Buhungu, and we have every determination to complete Buhungu. While that is going on, We have also done groundbreaking for Masinde Muliro Stadium Kandoi in Bungoma County, which is also on track. In fact, that will be the host of Madaraka Day this year, and we are racing against time to complete it in time to be able not only to host Madaraka Day, but also to be available to support the sporting ecosystem in Bungoma County and the rest of that region. Finally, Honorable Speaker, the question from the Majority Leader. The Honorable Majority Leader asked a fundamental question, the question of cost, the question of escalation of project cost. And I'm happy to report to this Honorable House that the audit report that the Honorable Majority Leader refers to is actually the result of our own request. It was myself who wrote to the Auditor General to invite the Office of the Auditor General to look at these projects in the process of developing our master plan to help us to avoid pitfalls that have afflicted this sector for so many years. And we are so keen, because this is our audit, as it were, if I could call it that. It is our audit, we asked for it. And so the results are very important for us. And we are very keen to deal with this hydra-headed monster of overpricing projects, because it is real. You look at a lot of these projects and they are really, you don't see value for money. And so we are being very keen to deal with that issue. And one of those things, one of the measures we have taken, Honorable Speaker, is to do prototypes. So that if we want to develop regional stadia, for instance, we do a prototype. We cost that prototype. And so for every actual project, we measure it against our prototype. The academies, for instance, someone had given a cost of about 400 million shillings per academy. We did our own prototype that indicates you can do these academies for not more than 50 million shillings. Many times less than what was projected. And so I can assure this House, the Majority Leader, that we are on top of this to keep budgets in check and deliver value for money to the taxpayer. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Martin Owino, question 053 of 20.
The Speaker, the opportunity is appreciated. I rise to ask question 53 to the CS Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports. 1. Could the CS outline the measures taken by the Ministry in promoting sports development and nurturing talents in communities, particularly in rural areas where there is abundance of talent? 2. Could the CS consider establishing a sports center or academies in their constituency with the aim of empowering and fostering economic growth among the youth? 3. Could the CS clarify whether there are plans to monetize sports nationwide using other means apart from the recently launched Talenta Hela, which is predominantly in the urban areas? Lastly, very important, could the CS explain how the ministry intends to roll out the Talenta Hela initiative, and can the CS provide assurance that the initiative will not lead to unsustainable economic burdens on the beneficiaries once concluded? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me bring to the attention of the Honorable Member Fondiwa and the House generally that I've made some annexures to my responses. And so some of the issues that have been raised here are also, the information is provided in the annexures. Let me particularly refer to Annexure B that talks to the work we are doing in the space of innovation, and because that is part of our Talanta Hela initiative. and part of promoting youth creativity and entrepreneurship. I also have an XC, which provides youth training camps nationally. We are rolling out 45 athletics training centers in different parts of the country. That is provided as an XC, that is in addition to Annex A, which is the master plan. Now, back to this question. We are very proud of the measures we have taken as a ministry and as a government to raise the profile of identifying, nurturing, and monetizing talents in this country. We came to office at a time when this space really had no form. The whole sporting arena was very troubled, so trouble all over the place. There was no notable structure, no notable initiative on how to deal with the question of developing the talents of young people in this country and turning them into livelihoods, or pesa mfukoni as we call it. Things like football were in shambles. Football was actually suspended at the time we came to office. Doping had run amok, and Kenya was just on the verge of being banned by World Athletics. Sports infrastructure, as we have demonstrated here, was in shambles all over the place. It was even unthinkable that Kenya could host AFCON. It's actually amazing that today we are talking about hosting AFCON. At the time the Kenya Kwanza administration came to office, Kenya did not even have a stadium to host an international game, not even a friendly game. Today we are now talking about hosting international events. And so we are very happy that we've been able to put in place the Talanta Hela initiative that has been able to provide a framework of how to identify talents countrywide, nurture those talents, monetize those talents. The football program, for instance, which ran last year, it was a nationwide program that resulted in finals which His Excellency the President graced at Nyayo Stadium, with women teams receiving significant prize money for that process. The girls had Busia as winners, Kisumu position 3, Homa Bay position 3, Kisumu position 2, with winners receiving 5 million shillings, 3 million shillings for runners-up, 2 million shillings for number 3, Uasin Gishu, number 4, receiving 1 million shillings, and that was the same thing for boys. We also rewarded regional winners. Everybody who participated in this and emerged a winner in their respective regions was also duly rewarded. And I'm very happy that today we've been able, under the Kenya Academy of Sports, to develop a national talent pool. Today you want an under 15 team, we have it. Under 17, under 18, under 19, under 20, those teams are available anytime. We saw the performance of our under 18 team in Sekafa. A lot of those young people were from this talent pool. Tomorrow, actually today, this evening, our national under 20 team will be departing for Malawi to participate in the Four Nations tournament. A lot of those youngsters are from this pool. On Friday, our under 19 team, both boys and girls, will go in for special training camp in Spain. Again, those are products of this pool. This year, Kenya, for the first time, is entering all World Cup qualifiers for youth teams. And that is because of this pool we've been able to create under this talent progression. So I believe we are in a good space. We have created spaces, as I've said. We are rolling out 45 athletic centers countrywide. We are rolling out academies, which I will come to. And all this is intended to provide an ecosystem for identifying, nurturing, and monetizing these talents in a very, very deliberate manner. We are also funneling them outside the country. Today, you go to the Nastic Soccer Academy in Spain, you meet boys like Aldrin Kibet, Amos Wanjala, Alvin Kasavuli, products of this ecosystem who have ended up in an elite football ecosystem in Spain. Louis Ingavi at Montverde Academy in Orlando, Florida, is a product of this pipeline. So we are happy that we have a pipeline that is actually producing. The second question, which is about establishing a sports center or academy in Liwa. Again, I'm pleased to report here that we have developed a framework on developing academies. The ultimate aim of this framework is to provide academies countrywide so that every constituency ultimately should have an academy. We have provided on page 12 of my responses a list of the initial constituencies. We did a survey countrywide, and on page 12 to 13, you'll find a list of constituencies that are going to be the ignition, the first wave, and we'll be doing these in waves, purely because of resources. And so the question that was asked earlier about academies, that yes, we have already done the framework, and we are preparing to start rolling them out. We took a bit of time to do the prototype, and when we did the prototype, we were able to reduce the cost of these academies from the initial projected cost of about 400 million shillings to 50 million per academy by just making sure that we live within budgetary limits and we do projects that deliver value for money. So that is a project that is going to roll out, and so Mviwa will ultimately be covered in that framework of the constituency academies. On the question of
move a little faster, Minister.
Yes, clarifying whether there are plans to monetize sports talents. Yes, we are, besides the Talanta Hela initiative, we are getting into some very solid partnerships to widen opportunities available. We have signed a deal with the NBA, for instance. I was in New York with His Excellency the President last year to sign a deal with NBA to develop basketball right from the school's ecosystem. And that is an opportunity for our young people. We have signed a deal with Invention Studios of Hollywood to promote the film industry. We have signed a deal with the Grammys to promote music. And so we have expanded that space. We have brought in the corporate sector. We have put in place, again for the first time ever, an incentives framework to encourage corporates to put money in this space. And we now have a system with the Treasury for tax rebates. For every shilling you put in, you get a certain tax break under that framework to expand that space. And so I believe that that is a matter that is very much on track. How the ministry intends to roll out the Talanta Hela initiative. This initiative is already up and running. We launched it last year. It was already rolling. This year it is going to be much broader. And the plan now is to involve other sporting disciplines and bring in creatives like music, film, theater, and other segments of the initiative. The initial one was very successful, brought together thousands of young people into talent camps, and it is what has resulted in the talent pool that I'm so proud of to mention here. And so yes, it's a program that is running, and I assure the House that it can only get better. Other partnerships that we have entered into, the most recent one is with the Amazon Web Services to fully exploit the digital space, which is also going to include upgrading the Talanta Hela Digital Hub into Talanta TV for purposes of promoting content from the sporting arena and also from creatives is going to find a very vibrant space that is also IP, intellectual property protected within that ecosystem of the Talanta Hela Digital Hub, which is up and running. And I would welcome members, honorable members, to take time and visit the Talanta Digital Hub at the Kenya Academy of Sports at Kasarani. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Martin, you are not satisfied?
Speaker, just a quick supplementary. You talked of master plan. I was hoping that in that master plan you can pinpoint when there will be a beneficiary, and you said within the framework. That is a little bit discouraging. But Mr. Speaker, we don't also have the privilege of having those annexures he's talking about. So we don't know which ones are in the 45 and which ones are not. And lastly, last time you were here, CS, you mentioned that the Talanta Hela is on procurement. At what stage are you today?
Songoli, Joyriders, one question.
Mr. Speaker, Could the minister has painted a very rosy picture about his efforts in promoting community talent. Could I be in order, Mr. Speaker, to ask the minister whether Narok or in particular Kilgoris, is he aware that Kilgoris has been given a blackout, yet we have been producing the highest number of talents, I think, in the region. We have the two Rudishas, we have Marai, we have many others. And Mr. Speaker, because my questions are brief, let me just ask another one. Now that if you are nurturing talent, Mr. Minister, would it be also in order, because of the whole government approach, for the government to consider athletics, for instance, as one of the qualifications, one of the possible qualifications to be recruited in the army, notwithstanding the fact that the athlete may not have gone to Form 4, because many of our athletes are talented in running, but when they go for interviews as police for police jobs or for the army, they do not actually get them because they do not have Form 4 certificates. Can you use the whole government approach to persuade your colleagues that this is a talent enough, competent of taking one to the armed forces?
Kirwa, one question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask this question about Athletic Kenya. There have been a huge complaints from athletes towards the organization, and a few weeks ago, the court ordered fresh elections at Athletic Kenya. I would like to hear from the minister, the CS, what is the minister doing about it? How did it happen that having the same officials for 8 consecutive years in office, and what have they done about it? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Give her the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I would like to...
Bensouda, the reason the clerks have difficulty finding you members is many of you come in without your cards. It makes it difficult for members to pinpoint where you are. Please try and be carrying your cards.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That is well noted, but this side has always been a problem, though it is my sitting in this house. So I think the ICT should come with speed because this is my permanent sitting place. Thank you, the CS, for your mastery of what you're responding to, but my question, one, which I'll also add another one in conjunction very fast.
Only one.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In regard to health within the sports sector, on mentoring our youths, personally, I've observed a gap. I'm talking based on the recent sports which I conducted as the MP, county MP for Homa Bay. I would like you to tell this House what plans you have in place to ensure that the health status of the players, whether under 17, under 18, 19, or 20, are taken care of in terms of facilitating, availing, and equipping mobile health clinics or first aid kits. Because I noticed that once our players are injured in the fields, the sub-county hospitals do not have adequate capacity to rush in and bring the first aid kits or the mobile clinics to take our players to the field. I think that is a gap that you need to plan for, and I know even by the time I finish this question, because you are very sharp, you already visualize the plan you have in place so that we don't have players running around people, mobilizing for funds. Some of them don't even have NHIF insurance.
You are making a speech. Ask a question.
The question, Mr. Speaker, sir, what plans do you have in place to take care of the health issues in regard to mobile clinics and first aid kits? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well done. Yegon, Brian. Richard Yegon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. Also, being a member of the Sports Committee, I would like to ask the Cabinet Secretary about Bomet Stadium. During the time you visited Bomet, I understand the stadium.
That one was already.
No. It's a different thing. It's a different thing, Mr. Speaker. That stadium was condemned, and I understand there was a directive that there will be another new stadium to be built instead of demolishing the one which is there, constructing a new one. We are going to construct a new one. Could you kindly give us the direction on that, Cabinet Secretary?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'd like to ask the Cabinet Secretary what the opinion on what is going to be done by the fact that there's a very big conflict of interest in Athletics Kenya. The Vice President of Athletics Kenya is also the senior partner in Triple O Advocates, which is the lawyer for Athletics Kenya, and also the chairman of the Sports Tribunal is a partner in the same Triple O Advocates, along with Gennaro Kibet, who is the vice president. We also have a situation where Barnaba Korir, who is a member of the AK board, is also the owner of the Continental Championships, which he controls and runs as a personal business. And this, again, Cabinet Secretary, that when this gets out, chances of Kenya being banned from World Athletics is extremely high. The conflict is known to the Cabinet Secretary. Could you please tell us what you will do about it to save Kenya from being banned? Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. I just wish the Cabinet Secretary could highlight recognizing that talent emanates or starts in primary schools and secondary schools. What efforts is the ministry doing to improve sporting facilities in both primary and secondary schools in the entire Republic of Kenya, especially in the western part of Kenya, where we is the citadel of football, and we are also emerging as the force in athletics. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Speaker. I want to ask a minister whether he's aware that in Taita Taveta there's no stadium of international standard, and the one Danson Mwanyumba Stadium is in a dilapidated state, and also the Moi Stadium is in a mess. What plans does the ministry have for sports stadium in Taita Taveta?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. And my question is to the Cabinet Secretary. I come from Nandi, the source of champions, and there we do not have a modern stadium. We feel you're not visible in Nandi County. So I don't know what plans you are having for Nandi, factoring in that is the place where many people have actually put the flag of Kenya high. And the member of parliament from where Kipchoge comes from, and there's really nothing much to be proud of. If people from the international, if those people who have given us medals come and check and see where Kina Kipchoge come from, it's going to be an embarrassment. So I would like to know what plans you have for Nandi County, and in special reference to sports academies. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to ask Minister my question. My question is on behalf of Kiambu County, in Gatondo South, we have a stadium which started 7 years ago, and the people of Gatondo South, which is Karato Stadium, the people have not been paid for more than 7 years. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Marakwet County, despite being referred to as the county of champions, and having produced world-beaters like Kevin Kiptum, may he so rest in peace, that we do not have a government-funded high-altitude training center, and that all the training centers are owned by private individuals. What plans does the government have in establishing high-altitude training centers in Elgeyo Marakwet County so as to tap the talent that is in that county?
Member from Kwale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I would like to ask the CS, what plans do you have as a ministry to revive the sports tourism in Kenya and mostly Diani, where we have golf, skydive, and other sports, which can be very instrumental for the country and also for the county economy, if the right investment can be made. Does the ministry have any plans for it in collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism in partnership with the coastal counties? Thank you, Mr.
Minister. Yes, comment. You can see people with raising hand. With the last one, please.
Thank you, Mr.
Your
Speaker.
neighbor has asked a question. You can wait for the answer.
Thank you.
From the same neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now that the NGCDF does not host sports anymore, what plans does the ministry have to make sure we conduct tournaments in our respective constituencies so as to tap the talents of the young people? Thank you.
Minister, if you can answer those in under 10 minutes.
I'll try, Honorable Speaker. Very quickly, I'll just go one by one. There was a question on the Talanta Hela in procurement. Actually, when I first appeared in this house, I did indicate that what had delayed the takeoff of that program was procurement of certain services, like the provision of the software and also the construction of the physical infrastructure. But that has been done and the program is up and running. I actually welcome honorable members to the Kenya Academy of Sports to look at the hub. It is a beautiful place. The second question was about Kilgoris, and I can actually confirm to the honorable member that Namwamba Primary School in Kilgoris is already on our list for the special centers that we are establishing. The honorable member can confirm that. So Kilgoris is definitely within our scope. And on the question of using athletics or talent as a basis for recruitment, it is a policy that our armed forces, our disciplined forces already apply. A lot of our, in fact, most of our athletes, most of our elite athletes operate within the ecosystem of our disciplined forces. And this is something which we encourage, but I also want to confirm here that it is our policy to encourage academics to go hand in hand with the development of talent, especially completing the basic level of education. It serves our athletes well. It serves our sportsmen and women well. The third question is on Athletics Kenya elections. This is a matter that has attracted, in fact, one of the reasons why the management or elections in Athletics Kenya has been problematic, as is the case with several other federations, has been a lot of court action. This matter is active in court. There was a court order, and the other side again ran to court and got an injunction. It's a bit of a blessed space. We are reviewing the Sports Act, and we will be bringing the new Sports Act to this honorable house. And one of the things we are grappling with is how to deal with the litigation and how litigation undermines or interferes with the administration of some of these federations. And some of the leaders, some of the candidates actually sponsor litigation so that they can stay in office ad infinitum. absolutely critical. We have seen very, very sad cases of even losing athletes in the course of training. We are preparing to lay to rest one of our athletes who were lost in Cameroon while on the track, while racing, doing the mountain run. So provision of health services is critical. First aid services, mobile clinics. In this house, the ministry, Kenya Academy of Sports, Sports Kenya, provide these services in our academies, in our stadia. We've been more than happy to provide that. And there is a cabinet memo we are preparing for consideration by cabinet. And one of the issues we are addressing very substantively is the issue of health and healthcare for our athletes. I've just mentioned that in Cameroon, just to amplify the fact that it is a real threat. It is something that we cannot treat lightly. There's the question from Honorable Yvonne on Bomet Stadium, or the Stadium of Bomet. And when we looked at Bomet Stadium, it initially was the choice of the leadership of Bomet. But then it came to, we were notified that there were discussions on the possibility to become a different venue. And we have asked the leadership of Bomet County to resolve that conversation. We are ready to proceed with this project once the leadership of the county indicates to us the preferred site. So Honorable Yagon and the leadership of Bomet, you show us the site, we will proceed with the project. The Honorable Deputy Speaker has raised the big issue of conflict of interest in Athletics Kenya, and it certainly is a big issue. But when you look at the law again, when you look at the operations of a lot of these federations, they act with impunity because of the so-called cover of parent international federations. And so you are always threatened with the excuse of third-party interference. It has happened to this country previously, especially in football. Wait. But there are issues what I can assure this house is that we have given very firm notice Football Federation, Athletics Kenya, and all the federations in this country that obeying the law is not a choice. Obeying the law is a imperative, and we have noted the issue that have been raised by the Deputy Speaker, and I want to give the assurance that we certainly will be picking them up for action. On the question of sporting facilities in schools from the Honourable Member for Fanola, it is critical. The natural domicile of talents in this country is schools. That is where 99% of our talents are domiciled. It is imperative that we target schools as the primary source of the talent development pipeline. When you look at our Talanta Hela initiative, the Talanta Hela pipeline is actually anchored in schools. And that is why the school volumes, Drama and Film Festival, Music Festival, all the talent processes going on in schools, the funding for that space was taken over by this ministry. Now the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports finance all those activities. We provide support to those activities, and we give the pipeline for progressing those talents through the Kenya Academy of Sports, through the Kenya Film Commission, through the National Theatre, the Kenya Film School. We have been able to join those dots, something that did not exist before. And on the question of improving facilities in schools, we have already started. The 45 centers I have mentioned here are all school-based. They are all based in schools. And they will provide the ignition, the beginning point of improving facilities in our schools to support this ecosystem of talents in our schools. Taita Taveta, we are in conversation with the Honorable Governor. We were on the phone 2 days ago, actually, discussing the situation of Taita Taveta. And he indicated to me on the phone, the Honorable Governor, that the land is actually available to do a facility in Taita Taveta, and it is something we will be progressing. We'll be progressing that conversation. The Honorable Koimburi, Karatu Stadium in Gatundu, in Kiambu County, was one of the troubled stadia. The stadia that I mentioned at the beginning, one of the stadia that we subjected to audit, one of the stadia we subjected to assessment, but the construction is now back on. The construction of Karatu is back on, and we have made it clear to the contractor that Karatu has taken too long and the construction has to be accelerated. We want Karatu to be completed, and there is also some adjustments we are planning to do to Kirigiti. We are also doing some adjustment to Kirigiti. We want to open Kirigiti to the public pretty soon, so that Kirigiti and Karatu should be able, in the meantime, to serve the people and the sportsmen and women of Kiambu County. Nandi County, I'm glad to report that we have already advertised the construction of Kipchoge Keino Stadium in Nandi. We advertised, and I believe the conclusion of the procurement should be at a very advanced stage to construct the Kipchoge Keino Stadium. And as academies go, Koitalel Samoei Academy is one of the priority academies that is in the master plan for Nandi County, in appreciation of the immense contribution that Nandi County continues to make to the sporting ecosystem of our country. The other question is from Honorable Timothy Elgeyo Marakwet. Again, I'm very happy to report that we have advertised finally the construction of Kamarin Stadium, and in our plan, Kamarin is more than just a stadium. Kamarin is both a stadium and an elite high-altitude training center, because the air around Kamarin is just in its own league, and the training, the suitability of training in Elgeyo Marakwet is on another scale, and so that is a priority project. Alongside this project, we will also be improving Iten grounds, Chepkorio grounds, and another space called Napo Primary School, not Napo, Chepkorio's second school, and the Kiptulu's primary school in Keio South. This all is part of improving that ecosystem in that space, and to honor the great contribution of Elgeyo Marakwet. Elgeyo Marakwet gave us Kelvin Kiptum, the young man we sadly lost the other day, and today we had a special ceremony to induct Kelvin Kiptum officially into the Talanta Hall of Fame in honor of his contribution. And so I can confirm that a lot is going on. The resources are limited. At this rate, this House should really consider providing this ministry with a special allocation just for infrastructure, for sports and the creatives, because as you can see, the need is immense, and at the ministry we are delighted that there is a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of excitement across the country about sports and the creatives. Because if we turn this into a mega industry, then we are guaranteed employment opportunities and support for livelihoods of our young people and a great portion of our population. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
We'll go to the last question, Irene Mayata.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the...
Which one, order my Irene? Kombe. Swali gani?
Honorable Speaker, I actually do realize that I skipped two questions, if you'd allow me.
The member for Kwale has left, so you can leave out that.
There was a question on...
ACDF is not allowed
yes,
to...
Yes, just making sure that we now support constituencies, and through the model we have put in place the Talanta Hela model of talent growth from the grassroots. Initially, our target has been the school ecosystem, to work through schools, through colleges. It is possible for us to sit down with honorable members and see how that can be integrated in the programs that members of parliament run at the constituency level. So that as we do constituency academies, as we do constituency athletics development centers, we can also see how sporting activities can be integrated in our broader Talanta Hela program. And on the sports tourism, we are doing very well. We work very closely with the Ministry of Tourism. We already do programs at the coast, like the Vipingo Ladies Open is by any stretch of imagination. The Vipingo LET is a sports tourism package. As we prepare for the WSS Safari Rally next week, we are working together with the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Trade. When the elite drivers arrive this weekend, their first destination is going to be the Masai Mara ecosystem, to use their presence to market the country to the world. And so sports tourism is a product that we are pushing and we are deploying to further expand the attraction of Kenya to the rest of the world. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Irene Mayaka, your question has been scratched on several times in the answers given by the Minister. So ask your question, Minister, you'll take 5 minutes on that. Question 055 of 2024. Nominated member Irene Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, my questions to the Cabinet Secretary. Number one, could the Cabinet Secretary elaborate on the policy framework guiding the provision of medical cover for sports persons in the country and measures in place to ensure that athletes are provided with medical coverage? Question number two, state if the Football Kenya Federation, FKF, and the Kenya Premier League has considered the provision of medical coverage to football players, including to advocate for the rights of the athletes to health care. I thank you.
Minister.
Honorable Speaker, let me admit that other than the normal processes we go through to provide insurance when our teams are traveling out of the country, like right now we are taking our junior, under 19 junior teams, boys and girls, to Spain at the end of this week. We have had to secure medical insurance for them. Other than those provisions and also requirements that FKF would be under through the CAF club licensing regulations. When you look at the CAF club licensing regulations, there are requirements for medical insurance and NHIF and that kind of cover for for players. Other than that, we have really not had any robust, deliberate, intentional, structured plan to provide health insurance to our sportsmen and women. But I'm glad to report that we are working on a composite cabinet memo for the welfare of sportsmen and women. It covers a wide range of issues, from issues of pension, endowment, health insurance, issues of travel. How do our sportsmen and women travel? For instance, we're looking at the possibility of diplomatic passports in certain limited circumstances. We're looking at issues like how do you take care of these athletes when they retire, in retirement. We're looking at housing. How do you provide respectable housing, especially under the affordable housing framework, to our sportsmen and women. And this cabinet memo is going to provide us with an official policy framework to finally fix some of the challenges our sportsmen and women face that have never been fixed for 60 years of our independence. I believe, Honorable Speaker, that this is going to provide this House also, because once the policy frame is ready, we have every intention to subject it to honorable members here for your input. And when it comes, please give it your input. Yes. We are preparing it in the form of a white paper that could progress all the way to the House. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Irene, are you satisfied? I allow you a supplementary.